Welcome back to the Fandango Studios. I'm Kristian Harloff.
And I'm Tiffany Smith, and we've had some awesome guests with us here so far at San Diego Comic-Con. Right now, we are lucky enough to be joined by the director of the upcoming animated movie, Kubo and the Two Strings. Thank you so much, Travis Knight, for coming to chat with us.
Absolutely, my pleasure to be here.
All right, Travis, so this is a really epic movie. What were some of the biggest challenges for you making this film?
Well, we work primarily in stop motion. The way we make our films is a combination of art, craft, science, and technology. But the foundation is stop motion, which is a technique that's been around for 100 years, since the dawn of cinema. So when we started making this film, it was this big, sprawling, epic fantasy, and it kind of flies in the face of what you can typically do in our medium. We essentially shoot this film on these gussied up tabletops in the middle of a crummy warehouse, and it has to look like a large-scale epic. And so that was, right away, that was a challenge to make it look and feel like a big, fantastic epic. Right. But we have these incredible, massive monsters in the film that our heroes have to come up against. It's in a lot of ways, it's a nod to the classic Ray Harryhausen creature features.
Yeah.
And our biggest one is, when fully assembled, it's 16 feet tall. It's massive with this 23-foot wingspan. Wow. So making these things look and feel real and give it the size and the scale that we needed, that was a real challenge.
I mean, what was that like for you, getting to finally see some of these characters come to life on the set? Even though you're saying, it's in a warehouse on a tabletop, but something like that where I think I know which villain you're talking about or which thing they go up against.
Right.
He's a bag of bones, that one. But what was that like, getting to finally see that and the motion and the action on set?
It's an oddly moving experience, which sounds weird. You start developing these
Very
projects.
Literal.
Yes.
Moving.
But emotionally moving as well. But you start developing these projects, and it takes years and years. We've been working on Kubo for 5 years now.
Yeah.
And so the first couple of years, it's just developing the story, the characters, finding the world, and then you start designing them and then slowly bringing them to life. So when you see them on a set, something that began as just an idea and now is a fully realized thing that is being brought to life a frame at a time by an animator, it's kind of as close to magic as anything I can imagine to see these things come to life. It's really a beautiful thing.
Well, you mentioned that it took you 5 years to do, and this is your first time as doing a feature as director.
Right.
What's the difference between directing this feature and from being a lead animator?
Well, it's considerably different. As an animator, you are focused on minutia. You're focused on the granularity of bringing something to life a frame at a time. You're really hyper-focused on details, which you are as a director as well. But as a director, you essentially become the nexus of every key creative and technical and artistic decision. So, all these decisions ultimately land on your shoulders, and it's in some level, it's very, very exhausting, just all the different things that you're involved in. But it's also really exhilarating because you're interacting with these incredible, passionate, brilliant artists who are really inspiring. I mean, you try to inspire them, but they are ultimately the ones who are inspiring you. It's an amazing, beautiful collaboration, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. It's the most meaningful creative thing that I've been involved in my entire life.
Love that. Well, and just talking about collaboration, obviously for an animated film, you've got to have great voice actors involved, and you had some pretty big name actors from George Takei, Charlize Theron, Rooney Mara, Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
What is it like for you getting to direct them and work with them on this project?
It's intimidating, particularly for a first-time director. I mean, everybody in the film virtually has a trophy case full of Oscars and BAFTAs and SAG Awards and every recognition you can imagine. These are some of the finest actors in the entire world, and so. But it's also exciting. It's a testament to, I think, the quality of the project that actors of this caliber were drawn to this material. They really fell in love with the material and the story. And so, it's a really great collaboration. Actors work a lot differently than animators do. So that was a big switch in my head to kind of figure out how each group would work and how to best direct them. But ultimately, they gave incredible, beautiful, moving performances, and I think you'll see it in the film.
Who was the most intimidating? Because you're saying you were intimidated. I'm like, call it out. Who was it?
Well, you'd have to say Charlize Theron because she's a goddess.
Yeah.
I mean, she's been blessed with so many gifts. She's funny, incredibly smart, beautiful, obviously, and so talented. It's a little unfair for the rest of us that someone was given so many gifts. But I guess we all have our cross to bear.
So at least you turned her into an animal for a little while.
Well, yeah. When people think of an ill-tempered, flea-ridden primate, I don't think they necessarily think of Charlize Theron. But she does it.
You know that she can do it. You watch her past work for sure. I want to go back to something you said earlier about the detail that you put in this movie. There's so much detail in every single frame of this movie. Is there something for you that you're going to find kind of satisfying that audiences might miss the first time and then have to kind of go back and see again? Like, that's how much detail is in there?
I mean, there's so many different things.
Yeah.
It's you know, we kind of bring these props to life, and there are all kinds of nods to the artists that bring them to life. Sure. Just in terms of the signage, or just the little props and stuff. In past films that we've done, you know, they'll put like the art director's name, they'll put it on like a sign somewhere, and so there's little tiny nods throughout the film that are acknowledgments that the people actually brought these things to life. But no, I mean, this thing was brought to life a frame at a time, and you know, there's thousands upon thousands of frames, so there's all kinds of tiny details that will be rewarded on a second viewing.
Well, what I love so much about this one too is there's so many themes that the movie encompasses, even just from a coming of age story to connection with your family to how you deal with losing a loved one. What is the thing that you really hope that fans walk away with after seeing it?
Well, I think that basically gets to the core of it. I mean, the film does explore that time in our lives when we begin that shift to become adults, and we cross that Rubicon from childhood to adulthood. But it also looks at it from a parental angle, because you know, I went through that experience like we all have, going from a kid to being an adult, and it's an experience that's fraught with a lot of different emotions and challenges as we're exploring the world and figuring out what kind of people we want to be. But as a parent, you know, now I have two teenage kids, and to see them go through that same experience, it gives you a different perspective on it. And so the film kind of examines that time in our lives from both perspectives, from being a kid and being a parent of a kid going through those life changes. And it's a really beautiful, moving film.
You know what else is moving is the music. Music. And as a director, as far as choosing the music, what was the process like as far as the score and going through everything to know that this is the tone and this is the music that I want to represent this movie?
I feel like it's another character in the movie.
It really is. Well, Kubo, he's basically like an Orpheus figure. Music is an important part of his life. He's a musician, so that's how he brings these characters to life. That's his magic. That's his gift. And so when we started to look for our composer, we needed someone who could, you know, have godlike musical gifts, which is no small ask. But we'd previously, in our last film, Box Rolls, we'd worked with Dario Marianelli, this extraordinary musician and composer. And so we started talking to him, and he was excited by the idea of trying to find that fusion of East and West, of old and new, of the real and the imagined. And so we started talking through the big themes, the big ideas in the film, and he did an incredible job. I think it's just this beautiful combination of Eastern instrumentation and scales, along with kind of these more romantic instruments that we tend to associate with places like Italy. And it's that fusion of those things with this modern cinematic Western point of view on this beautiful world. And it's something we've never experienced before. It really does get to the emotion of the movie.
Well, and I have to ask too, because origami and paper folding is such a big part of the movie as well, and you have to build out a lot of that stuff. Did you learn to do a lot more origami working on this movie, or anybody else on set?
I mean, it takes years and years to become a great origamist, so I think I'm certainly not that skilled. I think we all had to learn just enough so we knew what we were doing. And there were definitely people on the crew that are great at it, but I certainly have an appreciation for it. I think when you think of origami, it's a lot like being an animator. You're taking this inanimate thing, and through transformation, you're bringing it to life, changing it into something else. So in that way, I kind of tapped into that aspect of who I am, because I'm an animator as well.
Well, what I wanted to ask you, we were blessed here in the Fandango Studios today. We have some puppets from the movie. Can you tell us a little bit about what we have in the studio today?
Right, so those are our three heroes. We have Kubo, who's the central figure in the film, and then we have his two animal compatriots, which is, you know, Monkey. She's this savage sword-wielding snow monkey brought to life by Charlize Theron.
Right.
And then we have Beetle, who's a big, brawny, oversized man bug. And
Beetle Samurai.
He's a Beetle Samurai, something you don't see every day, but he's pretty great as well.
That's great. Thank you for letting us. We've been admiring those all day.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
They're little works of art, they are.
Yeah, they're great.
Is there any particular ones or models or anything that you kept from this film shoot that you're always going to be like, this was from my first time directing?
No, I have not yet, but I think there might be a couple things that somehow get secreted away out of the studio. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to thank you today for joining us. One of the things that we also wanted to present you with was this. Yeah, we're very excited for Comic-Con and the gifts that you...
Should I open it?
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
please
go for it.
All right.
And you guys all watching, make sure you stick with Fandango, because we've got so much more good stuff coming straight out of San Diego from Comic-Con in the Fandango Studio.
And check it out everywhere on all platforms of social media for Fandango. That's how you find everything that we're doing. Travis, once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.